Wouldn't it be nice if you were going out to buy a truck mount, especially a used one, and you had somebody with 40 years experience to show you the ropes? Well, I wish I'd had that because I bought several truck mounts throughout the years and I didn't know the ins and outs. Right now we're living in a pandemic or they're startups, so machines are scarce, especially new ones. So many people are buying used machines. So I'm going to show you 5 things to look for right now so you don't make the same mistakes that I made. Number 1, you need to decide what type of machine that you want. Do you want a direct drive, one that runs off the engine of the van or truck, or do you want a slide in? There's advantages and disadvantages to both, and I'll go into that later. But whichever one you decide, remember, these are easier to work on because you only have one engine. This has 2 engines. On top of it, make sure you do your research, do your homework on whatever make or model or brand you go with. Next, I want to know who is selling it and why they're selling it. You know, unfortunately, there's a lot of unscrupulous people out there, so it's important to go ahead and check out maybe their social media, check out their business reviews, and their selling reviews also. Number 3 is, does the unit have a service history? Some people are very meticulous and keep a nice written record. If not, maybe their distributorship or their mechanic has a printout that you can get because you can see all the components and make sure it's been taken care of. One thing I like to look at is, what are the hours? Are they lower hours? Also, if it has lower hours, does it have a lot of new parts? That would be concerning to me. So I want to break down the service history and make sure the unit has been maintained properly. Number 4, let's take a second and look over all the different components that might be a concern. First off, I like to look at the overall condition of the machine. As I go through it, I like to look at my gauges first to see if there's any cracks in it or if the oil's in there to make sure there's no freeze damage. Very important. Then I like to move to my other gauges to make sure they're functioning properly. When I start the machine, you'll see that later. I also want to check all my switches, make sure they're functioning properly. I'm going to go ahead and check my throttle, my choke, the key ignition switch, pump out, and then I want to move on to my fuses. Make sure I'm not blowing any fuses, and then I'm going to check my hours. Very important. Then I'm going to check to make sure they've been WD-40ing the blower. I'm going to check my pressure regulator. Also notice that there's a cover missing here. That's okay, but I want to know why is that cover missing. Next, I move to the side covers. I'm going to go ahead and check for any oil leaks. That's very important. I'm also going to go ahead and check for water leaks near the water pump and make sure it's functioning properly and make sure there's no fluids down below. Then I'm going to check my belts on both sides and my exhaust. Next, moving to the other side, I'm going to go ahead and check for any type of electrical damage. You don't want any wiring issues with your machine. Afterwards, I'm going to check my heat exchangers, make sure there's no cracks. Remember, cracks can show up later. They don't always show up right away. You get hairline fractures, and that can do a lot of damage and be very expensive and costly for you. Probably the most critical thing of all is checking the engine oil. Is it burnt? What kind of condition it is? And has it been replaced by manufacturer's recommendations? Next, I'm going to bring the machine up to full throttle. I'm going to check my solution pressure, my temperature, and my vacuum, and also my lift. Also, something to keep in mind is that an air-cooled machine generally lasts about 5,000 hours and a water-cooled about 10,000 hours. Lastly, if you need any more help, you can always go to truckmountforums.com and research it, or you can reach me on our Facebook page, or you can call our 800 number here at tmfshop.net. I'm Rob Allen. Have yourself a great day.